Hey guys, you're watching Daniel and Gian talk, and today we are going to do a full review on John Abraham's feature film, Rocky Handsome. It's our first time experiencing the phenomenon known as John Abraham, and let me tell you, we were not let down. At least I wasn't.
I wasn't either. I know some people in the comments were kind of misleading us and making it seem like it was just a dumb action film with no substance, which... I mean, I can see where they're coming from.
It was definitely. It wasn't a great film. It
wasn't.
It wasn't gonna. It's not gonna go down in the annals of greatest films ever made. You
True.
know, it's not Citizen Kane. Obviously, it's very. It's
straightforward.
It is what it is. It's a very straightforward film. Not too many twists or turns. You know, it's pretty much it's a revenge action film, savior film, whatever.
And it's a remake because it's been remade from the.
Oh, it's a Korean film, right?
Yeah.
Okay. But I liked it. You know, I mean, one of the things right off the bat that jumped out to me, I loved the little girl. The little girl was great. You know, I thought she, you know, I don't even know how old she is. She's 6, 7, 8 years old, but
she played it well.
She had a great performance. You know, like whoever directed that was really able to get that
Kids
out of her.
Kids are tough, man.
You know,
kids are tough to direct.
Right.
Spielberg says the best way to direct a child is just to tell them exactly what they want.
Right. Line reads.
Just 100%, because that's the opposite direction you'd want to give an actor who's professional. You know, you would never want to say, "Hey, do it like this." You wouldn't do it because they would laugh your ass out of the game.
Well, they get pissed off too. Like,
absolutely,
like
and I get it. I totally get it. That's their craft. That's why you're hiring them. But when
it's kind of like if you don't want to get line read, though, stop being a shitty actor. And then
it's true.
You know,
or don't be Marlon Brando, where you think you're so good you could just not memorize your lines.
Oh well.
That's a whole other thing.
Towards the end of his career, he went a
little AWOL.
Yeah.
But with children, though, if you tell them, because they have a short attention span anyway.
Exactly.
So if you tell them exactly what you want out of them, they'll more likely than not do it. And that's coming from Spielberg. And in my honest opinion, I don't think anyone else directs kids better than him.
He had some great ones for sure. But let's get into the movie itself. So the movie, we start with this guy. You could tell something's wrong with him. He seems really depressed. He seems like he is a loner. And he gets some fish at the market. The lady makes a smart-ass comment
about how fresh they are.
Yeah, exactly. Like, and he goes home, and then this little girl shows up at his, and you see he owns a pawn shop, and this little girl's there harassing him, and you could tell he's just like, dude, go away. But he lets her hang around, you know. We find out like moments later that they're kind of friends, you know, and he feels sorry for her because her mom's a heroin addict.
Which they don't shy away from.
No, definitely not.
Because I was expecting more of just exposition. My mom does drugs. It was like, no, we're gonna go there. We're gonna show you this stuff. And I thought the relationship was a little weird at first, though. I'm not gonna lie, because I'm like, okay, well, who's this girl?
Right.
Like, she's the neighbor. But is it customary for a kid to just go over to your neighbor's house? I mean, I guess considering the circumstances with the mother and everything, I get it.
I mean, it's a rough neighborhood.
That's what I'm saying. Like, considering the circumstances,
and this girl was
a
little mature, obviously mature for her age.
Right.
You know, forced to be mature.
But in America, well, I don't know, in anywhere, I think that might be a weird situation.
Well, I don't know. I mean, you know what?
Think so?
It kind of reminded me of The Crow, where, like, the little girl was a big part of that movie.
Or even in Leon, the Professional.
Yeah, well, that was the other movie I was, you know, but Leon also was like autistic or something too. He had to, you know, they never explained it in the movie, but he obviously
had some sort of
had some sort of issues with him.
But I'm just saying,
that, like that one kind of bordered on like pervy territories.
This one didn't.
Well.
This
no,
one
not
didn't.
at all. This was innocent, very
which
innocent.
Which is why it stuck out to me at first. Like, I'm like, oh, what's going on here? But then it was 100%. It never ever went into weird territory, so I didn't think anything of it, especially as the story went on. But it was a little weird at first, because I just didn't know who the hell she was.
Right.
They didn't like set her up immediately. You kind of find out as the story goes on.
But then there's stuff like you could tell that they've been hanging out for a while, because when he
just the way they talk to one another.
Well, not just that, but when she was eating lunch with him, you know, and the mom came over, like he like pushed the plate out of the way, like obviously, and she was right there to catch it. So it's something they've done before.
Which under other circumstances would have been a really weird scene.
Right.
Because it's like you have the neighbor's kid and he's hiding the kid, but once you find everything out,
once you find out the mom's a junkie,
right? Then it goes out the door. Then you don't really care what happens.
Exactly.
Or even that she dies later.
Right. And then she's kind of bitchy. And then as the movie progresses, we find out that the mom ripped off these drug dealers who are also human organs traffickers.
Yep.
And they find her and they kill her, obviously, and they kidnap the girl and they pretty much sell her into, I want to say, like an organ farm.
Well, it's like a sex shop, I felt like.
No. Well, so, I mean, this is explained later when he sees the girl in the morgue. So they're harvesting these kids for their organs.
With the madame, that lady who's just holding them
exactly until they get old enough.
I assume
or
that
if people want their eyes, they cut their eyes out.
Yeah, I thought it was sexual.
Which I don't know. Is that a real transplant? Can you get other people's corneas? Like that was.
I haven't looked it up. I'm definitely curious the research method behind all of this stuff because they throw some medical talk out there, but I don't know if it's just true or it's actually like researched.
But because of the kidnapping, it forces him to like leave his comfort zone and go after and try to rescue the little girl. And then we find out all kinds of stuff about him. I mean, the movie starts with him and another woman.
And then we find out later.
Like she dies. Because he visits her at the.
He gets
Grave.
murdered.
Yeah.
She gets murdered.
Yeah,
brutally murdered.
Yeah, exactly.
But I mean, well, I'm glad you brought that up because in my notes I wrote down a few things. One, I really bought that he was depressed.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know how he acts normally. I don't know if this is the same exact performance he gives in all of his film.
Right.
But
he does the brooding loner
100%
very
perfectly well.
Very well.
100% believable. To the point where, how did you feel when they revealed he was like this top secret CIA agent? Because I almost felt like they could have just kept him as this unknown rogue guy that you don't know, and he's just a badass.
Yeah, like that part actually felt a bit forced because it was never paid off.
Yeah, it didn't lead to anything.
They threw up like the guy who he used to work for shows up and they're like, you can't have him, but then we don't know why they want to track him down either.
Right.
And then that guy disappears. We never see him again either after he turns himself in at the end of the movie. So it was just kind of unnecessary, That was a little plot point. I felt like empty.
I feel like it was definitely something for the audience.
Yeah.
Like, there were certain moments where I felt like, okay, the filmmakers or the producers or the screenwriters feel like they need to, to wrap everything up nicely.
Yeah, and it tied into the death of his wife too, and but they could have been
necessarily.
He could have been an ex-gangster or something like.
And it didn't need to matter.
No,
really, in my opinion.
Right.
So yeah. There's two things that I loved. One, transition shots. I love the transition shots and how they got us into scenes. Like there's a certain shot with the scorpion.
Yeah.
It's like a close-up of the scorpion and it rack focuses to like a wider shot of the whole, or it was like a dolly up or something, whatever it was.
Right.
Great. Like they're, time and time again, they definitely were using these stylistic approaches. I love the fucking editing to the point where the movie started to over-edit itself. There's definitely some moments where I was like, okay, that was too much. Like, there's a moment where he's walking up the stairs, and it would cut to two different shots of him walking up the same set of stairs, but they showed it like 5 or 6 times.
I wonder if they were trying to extend it to make it seem like he was walking up a lot of flights of stairs.
I don't know.
Who knows?
But I mean, those like the first 2 shots where they cut it, I'm like, oh, this is cool. It kind of reminded me of 24. But then they kept overdoing it, and it was just like, okay, this.
It's to the point where it's too much of a good thing.
Yes, but I enjoyed like the way the characters were introduced. It reminded me of Guy Ritchie, but also I love the opening scene, that musical sequence when he's dancing with his wife, like or girlfriend, whoever it was. I genuinely believed that they fell in love. Like, as a piece of cinema, you take that scene out and you just release it as a music video. I thought I would think it was a good video. Like, I really enjoyed it.
And it was, I mean, that was another example of creative ways of using
montage.
Basically, creative way of putting a music video in there. Like, that's their way. Instead of having people stop and break out into song in the middle of the movie, that's.
And even the one song that is in the movie, which is at that club where they start dancing with the rain and fire and everything.
That one I actually was not a fan of.
Well, because it was too long.
Well, not just that, but because they had the same girl and they were cutting to different shots of her, even in different costumes.
It took you out of the realm of believability.
Yeah, because it was just like, okay, now this is weird. Like the way they did it. Had she just been in the same place doing the same dance the whole time, it would have been fine. But they kept on like. She was over here and this with no one behind her. Exactly. And then she was over here wearing a gold outfit, and she was hot. I feel like maybe she was the director's wife or something. So she's like, I need to be in this movie. He was trying to figure out like a creative way of putting her in the movie.
But I see your point. Because that took me out too. Because up until that point, we just had the music video at the beginning, and then it was kind of straightfortght. I mean, it kind of reminded me of John Wick as well.
Absolutely.
Like, and that's total compliment, 100%. I mean, there was definitely some over the top actions, like where that big guy in the club, where he's like punching people, like, and they're flying, and then homeboy comes in and just punches him once, and he just wrecks him.
Yeah.
I mean, there's moments
like stuff like that, but that was entertainment. It didn't bother me. It didn't take me out of it either.
That action makes me laugh.
Yeah.
But in a good way.
Yeah.
Or I'm having
fun.
No,
it was definitely
having fun.
It was the action was
with how fucking depressing the movie is. You got to have those lighter moments.
Absolutely. The action was definitely like entertaining. And then, I'm actually not surprised that this is a South Korean film, because it definitely had that feel
South
to it.
Korean
vibe. A lot of
that
it.
Action.
Exactly.
That's their style of action, 100%. Not to say that Indians don't have,
but even like the depressing parts of it too seem like
I feel like South Korean films are very emotionally driven. I mean, everyone is, every country is, but they like to go places. Yeah. They like to go really dark. Right. They don't have boundaries. I at least in my opinion, what I've observed, like, so for me this fits in there because there is no boundaries in this movie. Like, it goes everywhere. The only thing that was surprise to me, because we did the reaction video of the fight scene, and I remember like the eyes being shot and stuff. I didn't know that those were the little girl's eyes. So like that scene in itself had more context now.
Absolutely.
Like, I enjoyed it more than we did watching it just on a little snippet. And so,
because when we watched that scene,
context.
We had no idea who the eyes belonged to,
or even who John Abraham was.
Right,
at all.
Exactly.
But yeah, the eyes. That's why I brought it up. Like the fact that it was like, oh, it was little girls, and they shot the eyes, and then the Thai guy had a change of heart at the last minute, I guess. Right. Which is also kind of
that was a bit odd. That was like kind of thrown in. I didn't need because he didn't get redeemed. Like he was he got redeemed after he died. He
still went to kill John Abraham.
Yeah. Like, he still died.
That's what I'm saying. So it didn't. They could have. I feel like it was implied already. That's the other thing too about this movie. There was a lot of implications.
Right. Well, they were trying to say that he was different than the guys that he worked for, but I mean, even it was still unnecessary.
But I mean, when he was in the car with the surgeon, there's a moment where he has reservations about it. Right.
Exactly.
So when you would,
I mean, because they have that moment where she puts the Band-Aid on his forehead.
Right. Exactly. That's what I'm saying. So when you see this at the end and he shoots the eye, you're gonna assume that he's this asshole. But when you see the kid, I feel like that would have been more of a stronger
something they should have shown before.
I don't even think they should have shown it at all. Him rescuing
because I knew. I mean,
because as soon as you see the girl, you're gonna know that he obviously killed the doctor.
Right. Well, even then, like, it doesn't matter how she survived.
It's the fact that she did.
That she survived, and I knew like there's no way. I was actually kind of hoping that he found the girl and she was missing her eyes.
Well, so did me too.
Because I was like, okay, because it was going that this movie was that dark and it was going down that road where it would have been okay. So that kind of,
because it would have been that ending, that bittersweet ending where you see her wandering and you're like, oh my god.
Exactly.
And then I don't know if he would have killed himself. Like, I didn't like that part when he put the gun to his head at the end. That was such a film school thing. 100% film school thing.
That didn't bother me that much.
Why would he commit suicide?
Because his quest is done. He has nothing else to live for. He thought the little girl was dead, and he's not going to go back to his wife. But he exacted revenge on these guys.
I don't know. That always bothers me because, I mean, he didn't kill himself, so I can't hate on it too much. Because if he did shoot himself, that would have been 100%.
I mean, it's kind of like Hartigan in Sin City. Hartigan shoots himself because he knows, like,
that's true.
His story's done.
Sin City's also a comic book too.
Right. Well, but it's also, he knew that there's nothing else he could do. That they're going to arrest him.
I feel like that was justified.
Yeah, it was justified.
Like, he was gunning for that. Like,
well, I mean, I think this too was.
Sure, you can make that argument. You can make that.
He had nothing else to live for. Like, the only thing that keeping him alive really was his little girl.
That's true. I can't argue that. So, one question, and this is for the audience, but also for you as well. So they're talking about getting drugs from the Russians, right? So are the Russians India's equivalent to America's cartel, do you think? Because if this story were set in America, you wouldn't be talking about getting drugs from Russia. You'd be talking about getting drugs from the cartel or from the Colombians or whatever.
I'm going to say yes, and the only reason I'm going to say yes is because of Goa Gone. It was also an element
Russian
in
thing.
that.
That's why I brought it up.
Funny enough, and this film takes place in Goa as well, so maybe it's just a Goa thing. Like
maybe.
The
Let us know in the comments. But I wrote that down because I was like, that's very interesting to observe, because if you or I were ever to write a movie that dealt with drugs or anything like that, we would know these shits aren't coming from the cartel. They're coming from the Russians.
Well, I mean, there are.
They could be, but you get what I'm saying.
There are Russian crime elements in LA that we really don't know about.
100%. I mean, I'm sure there's crime elements all over. Right. But my point is, stereotypically or what
Yeah,
you would
stereotypically, it's
assume.
always just going to be Mexicans.
Exactly here in the States.
Here in the States,
In India, I'm going to assume based on the 2 movies that it was that
and you
it's
guys,
Russians.
you know, let us know
for sure.
Now I'm going to ask you something. So there was something that I don't know if it bothered me or not, and that was the brother, Luke. The guy with the little braids in the back of his head.
I liked him. The over the top dude.
I
liked him.
There were moments where I liked him, and I thought like his weird kind of
went with the tone.
Went
of the
with
movie.
it, but then there was other times where I was like, okay, no,
you should be calming down.
Yeah,
now.
this is too much.
Like when
now,
he's about to die.
Now you're becoming a caricature. Is where it was.
I mean, I thought he was the whole time.
Right.
Which I didn't.
But I mean, some of the times it fit. And then other times it didn't fit. So I'm not sure how I feel about him. Like, because part of it, like, I hated him, and then other parts was like, okay, well, now his like crazy, you know.
It's kind of like he was kind of a comic book villain.
Yeah, it doesn't. Yeah, and I mean, I don't know.
I think that's why he had the other brother to kind of balance
to
him
ground
out.
it. Yeah.
That's what I would assume. But I loved his character a lot. I like the actor. I like the choices he made. I think I've seen the original one, but I don't remember. I don't know why, but regardless, we're judging this movie on its own merits.
Yeah,
so.
and so I'm gonna disagree, and I'm not gonna give him the thumbs up on his performance.
I liked it.
I'm gonna give him an incomplete.
Where it's like you don't know if
yeah,
you're gonna kill him or not.
Yeah, he's gonna get an incomplete for me because there's definitely parts of it where I was like,
I mean, there was definitely over the top moments without a shadow of a doubt.
Not even just being over the top. I just felt like, especially like juxtaposed against the other people in the movie, like it was.
He was way over the top.
Yeah, and
he almost didn't fit in the vein
right,
of the movie.
Exactly, and that for me is an issue. Like I feel like it's okay to do that kind of stuff as long as it fits into the context of the things.
Why do you think they pixelated the naked woman's body? Do you feel like that's an artistic choice, or do you feel like it was censored because of Netflix or whatever? That I don't know. I can't tell you.
I think that was pure censorship because from what the comments have told us, and we've already seen how many movies we have yet to see any nudity. So I feel like.
Well, I think there was a titty in Gangs of Wasseypur.
No, I don't think so.
Then I stand corrected.
I don't think so. Yeah, I think that was 100% pure censorship. I mean, and you guys could let us know, like.
Yeah, was it?
I mean, because when we talked about it, when we did, was it Hate? Is that the name of the movie? Hate, whatever. The cheesy movie where the brothers are fighting over the woman that we did a reaction to. You remember the name of it?
No.
It's like Love Hate or Hate something.
I don't remember.
Okay.
Oh, Hate Story 4?
Hate Story 4.
Oh, yeah.
Like we add, like people are like in the comments they mentioned that there's no nudity.
I felt like that was a PG-13 film. But I just wrote down, was it artistic or censorship? Because you could still do that scene censoring it that way with the pixelation. If you really wanted to, it's really fucking weird and no one does it. But if you really wanted, if you felt it was so extreme and grotesque.
Yeah, no, I don't think so.
Maybe they didn't have money for makeup.
Could be.
I don't know. You don't know.
I don't think so, though.
But I wrote that down. There was the construction scene. So the moment that made the film like fall off the rails for a minute was there was a construction scene where they like the first major fight scene in the movie where he drives in like an abandoned or a building that's being constructed or whatever, and he's just fighting people.
When he meets the first boss.
Yeah.
When they send him there to call the cops to set the guy up.
That was terrible.
I was wondering about not the fight that bothered me, but when they threw him out the window.
And when he flew
and
into
he landed, I thought that was chain link fence.
It looked like it,
and
but
then
I guess
cuts through it with a knife easy.
That scene, that whole thing bothered me. I wrote it like it was bad editing. It was just bad editing. It's just like when he was coming into the location. But going off of that though, that's after that scene is done. That's when you see the Rocky Handsome title card for the first time.
Yeah.
So.
Like
was that the longest
in the middle of the movie?
Was that the longest prequel, like set up to the story ever?
Yeah.
I mean, obviously we know Indian films are in 2 parts, and that was probably the end of part 1. That's how they decided to end it. But that, as an American, that felt very weird.
It was odd
because they did it in Go Go Agone too.
Yeah.
Where they showed the title card an hour or so into the movie. So, question to you guys: is that commonplace? Is that something that's normal? Do you expect that at the end of the trailer? At the end of the first part of the film? Let us know in the comments. Let me know. I'm curious to know because it stands out like a sore thumb. It's like, what the fuck? Why is this
weird.
in here?
It was definitely
because if it's not in the first 5 minutes, there's no reason for it to be there an hour into the movie.
No, we already knew the name of the movie too. Like I felt like they didn't even need to explain his name either.
You got it. Like the fact that they called him handsome, I liked it because he could have no name.
Right.
I like that idea.
This is funny. Like the whole throwing out his like whole backstory like that with exposition in the middle of the film, that reminded me of Black Panther and the Killmonger. It was like a lot of stuff, like, but the difference was we saw
him be a badass.
Exactly,
way
we saw him
this.
in action already, so like
that's why it didn't need it.
Yeah,
as opposed to Black Panther, Killmonger had nothing.
Right,
and then they want us to just believe he's
exactly.
a badass. And then when we see him fight, we're like,
right,
kind of a bitch.
Right,
this guy not a bitch at all. But no, I kind of covered all my notes. Believe it or not, this is kind of quick for once. It
was a short movie, and like we said at the beginning of the review, like it wasn't like anything super complicated or anything where like, you know.
No, it's true.
We don't have to jump deep into analyzation of the film. I mean, it is what it is. It's definitely a popcorn flick, on the darker side of things. You know,
for sure.
On the darker side,
you wouldn't want to watch this as a little kid.
Yeah, definitely reminiscent of John Wick and what was that?
But then again, I don't know. I feel like I watched movies like this as a child.
Different generations. I definitely watch more violent films. I watch more violent films like as a kid than kids do nowadays.
I feel like this movie. Maybe that's why I identified with it so much. But it was very reminiscent of like my childhood movies. Not my childhood, like. I wasn't involved in
like one of those early '90s action movies, like Steven Seagal movies.
Exactly, where there is drug rings, there are like sex, prostitution, all this other stuff, which wasn't really in this movie, but I'm just saying, like in those Steven Seagal movies, 100%, and that's what it's about. You just watch some dude come in and he just with this shitty kung fu just kicks the shit out of everybody.
Aikido, to be exact.
Aikido, is that what it is?
Aikido, yeah.
Aikido.
Actually, Joe Rogan talks about it. Like the only reason why that stuff exists is because it was for ways for people back in the samurai days to fight people with swords.
Oh, that's totally relevant today.
And that's why it was effective, because it was the techniques they used to disarm people with swords. Yeah. But now it's not effective because people don't lunge at you that way.
Well, people don't carry swords around either.
Exactly. Well, and that's why. So the movements that would make it effective don't work because people don't fight that way.
Right.
So
how would you? So let's do this a little bit differently today.
Well, I mean, there's still this. There's another. There's a gripe I have. I mean, it's a minor gripe, but I just feel the need to bring it up. It's the one of the issues I had with the film, if I'm gonna have any big issues with it, was I just felt like the villains didn't have the best motivation.
Because there wasn't any.
No.
It was more of they kind of just.
It was just like they're just bad people, and they do these things, and the way he comes across them. You know,
it was a little coincidental.
It's a little coincidental, you know. And I think part of that, too, was like when he goes running after the car when they first kidnap her, and then they do the flashback of like they broke into, like we saw that someone broke into his pawn shop, and we're like, we don't know why. Maybe if they didn't need to do that flashback. They could have just shown that whole sequence there, and I think, you know.
As opposed to doing this whole like playing with time. Well, that's what, but see.
Yeah.
I agree with you from a story point of view and from a filmmaking point of view. I have no arguments. But I have to say I did like what they did during the movie. For all these time jumps, because I just genuinely enjoyed the editing. I really did. And so even if it didn't necessarily pay off, I commend them for trying it.
Right.
And because the thing is, it's not like it didn't work.
Right.
It just could have been better had they not done it.
Absolutely.
Or whatever. So, but the fact that they had balls to commit, because I feel like very rarely, very seldom do you see a movie have the same amount of energy from frame one all the way to frame 0 or 100 million at the end. No. It was straight through. You can tell, like the guy. If anything, he over directed and it was over edited.
Right.
I mean, but you can always scale that down.
The pacing was definitely fine. I didn't have an issue with the pacing at all. It was good pacing. And then I guess the other thing and the last thing I'll really say about this before you ask your question is the layers. The bad guy layers, you know, like where he did that final. It was just like, that was like, okay.
That church was small as shit.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, because like, it's
well, not just
huge.
that, but that they're in a church at all. Like, it was just kind of, okay. I was like, this is a little too cliche bad guy. Like, you could have done a better job than and they're all hanging out in this church too, like in the same room. And then half of the guys are wearing fedoras too. Like, I'm like, okay, come on.
Half of them are Mexicans.
Yeah.
As we said in the reaction
Or maybe
video.
it was the same like they only had 3 stunt guys, so they had to keep on okay, let's just throw, you know, let's just keep throwing a hat on these guys to make
I feel like that's a nitpicky thing because
no, absolutely.
Because you're not stretching, that's not the word I'm looking for. The movie was fine in and of itself, that these little things stick out.
Yeah.
As opposed to if we had extreme story problems like My Name is Khan. I mean, in My Name is Khan, we didn't talk about production design or set design or anything like that because we were so damn distracted by.
We just talked about the issues of the story.
Exactly. You know? So like for us to have a conversation like that, I think like this about location, I think is it's a hats off to that team.
Right. Absolutely.
We're focusing on.
Yeah, it's just something like
it stands out.
Yeah,
because
if you're gonna write a movie like this, like just I mean, you already know that the story's not a 100% original. You know, it's not. You're not revolutionary. You're not reinventing the wheel with this film. Like at the very least, like pay attention to those little things, details. Yeah. Like try to avoid the cliche as much as possible because you already have built-in cliches.
There's already cliches over there, and who knows the production thing? You know, maybe they got the church for free. Maybe
who knows?
Or maybe you never know the reasoning behind things.
Right.
But what I was going to ask you is, so I'm gonna write this down too, so we can actually keep it for the records. How would you rate the action scale of 1 to 10?
I'm gonna give it a solid 8.
So that's a solid 8. That's them. I'm like right there. I
think some of the fight choreography, like you could tell, like okay, like it was a little slow. Sometimes some of the punches.
You need
were
some
a little
Tiger Shroff in there, man. That's
but like he would do like he'd go like.
Well, you can sometimes
like
you
it was
can
like
tell,
robotic.
You can tell he's not hitting them either, too.
Right.
Which is another thing in itself.
Some of it wasn't 100% fluid. That's really what it comes down to. It wasn't like really seamless. Like you could definitely like okay, they practice this a lot. It just didn't seem natural. And a lot of it was just like it just seemed like older choreography too. Like definitely that's why I think you got that kind of that feeling of the 90s. Movies. Yeah, because
it was like a kung fu karate
like I think
style.
a lot of the choreography nowadays is like definitely more advanced and
because they tried it. I mean, even John.
I mean,
Wick.
like we said with the Boggy and Boggy 2 reaction videos, like mixed martial arts has ruined the action film.
It did.
The martial arts
but at the same time, like that's why I think that's why I like this one so much is that callback that really did. Allow itself to be its own thing in a weird way, or not be its own thing, but add to the pantheon of like all these other action movies. So
we're gonna try out a new rating system with this film, and if it sticks, you guys let us know if you like it, and we'll keep doing it. If not, then we'll just go back to the other way. But we're gonna break the film down into several different categories and rate those categories from 1 to 10, and then get an average of that to give our final score for the film. So, like I said, let us know in the comments if it's something that you guys think is cool, and if you think it sucks, well, then we'll scrap it. Yeah.
So, first one's action. We both gave it an 8. Cinematography. What did you rate it?
For
me, I'm like at an 8.5.
That one's tough because it's like nothing wowed me, but it wasn't bad.
Nothing was bad.
Yeah. So I'm guessing I'm gonna give it a 7.
7. All right, cool. That works.
It's funny. Like average would probably be like a 5, but when it comes to these things, we're thinking like grades.
Yeah, no, it's true. Editing for me is a 10, even though it over edited in some places. But the amount of things that I was able to just watch and pull from that I would rewatch this movie just for editing purposes. Right. That's how much I genuinely enjoyed it. As a matter of fact, because I was watching this movie, I actually added some of those editing influences in my pilot for Growing Up Immigrant, but that's neither here nor there. What do you think for the editing?
For me, I didn't notice anything, which is a good thing.
Because you shouldn't. Because if you notice the edits,
exactly.
Going wrong.
So I'm gonna give it an 8, just because I wasn't necessarily blown away by it, but it wasn't. I didn't pay attention to it, and I feel like every good editing should be an 8.
That's true. And if
it's a 10, it's because it did like really stylized stuff.
Like Dunkirk is a 10 for me. This movie is a 10 because you don't need to have a 10 in the editing department. I mean, just because you have a 10 in the editing department doesn't mean you have a 10 film. It just means that the editing was done really well.
Exactly.
And that's what I kind of want to make clear too. So acting, how did you? Obviously, you had the problem with the villains. What did you feel about, John Abraham or just collective? I mean, the girl was a positive.
I think acting, I'm going to give it a 6. Just nothing. And that's not bad. It's just nothing blew me out of the water. It was good enough. I
feel like the little girl balanced out the
they did. There was definitely some bad acting in it, but not enough for me.
I'm at a 7 just because I really enjoyed John Abraham's performance, especially in the beginning. And I felt like the script disserviced him by having him admit all these different things. Right. But for the most part, I feel like playing someone with no emotions and doing it well and convincing
It's
that
hard
you're
to
a
do.
person that has
Yeah.
no emotions.
Well, I guess, maybe bump me up to a 7 because I guess the key is like he was playing with no emotion, but he wasn't coming off as a sociopath either.
This is
and
true.
that's actually really like,
or playing it as someone who is even capable of what I mean by that is not the sociopath thing, but sometimes you play no emotions, but you're a bad actor,
right?
And it's because you can't express yourself.
Exactly.
You can't act.
And this no emotion was more or less like he just wasn't feeling anything because the
depressed.
most important things in his life were taken away from him. Yeah.
And then so
I mean, we didn't even talk about how brutal that was. Like his wife
got
pregnant
smashed.
wife was like smashed and killed on purpose. There wasn't an
and
accident.
then the dude came out and shot him.
Yeah.
I mean, that was a brutal scene.
And the messed up part about that too, and this is a flaw in the.
Funny, this is gonna be a short review.
There's a flaw in the film that there's no backstory about why that guy did what he did.
Not at all. Not at all.
And that's
or how
not
they
good.
got together.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, but did you really need it though? Would it have made a difference to you?
I kind of want to know why someone's gonna kill your pregnant wife, and try to kill you. Like I need some sort of reasoning, and not that little 3-minute montage of him like beating bad guys.
I interpreted it
because it didn't seem like he was taking out drug dealers.
Well, see, I guess I interpreted it as an accident.
Well, no, it seemed like an accident at first, and I was like, "Oh shit!" Now I see what. But then,
he kills. I mean, I'm saying
then the guy hops out of the truck and shoots him.
Well, I think he was going for him, and then that was just a.
No, okay.
That's what I felt in the moment.
Maybe, but
now I can see where you're going for.
Anyways.
But then you would have ventured into a 3-hour movie.
Okay, I mean, yeah.
So you got to take your losses.
I mean, this goes back to just like a poor backstory. Like if,
no, I
if
mean,
you're
no
gonna show
one had a
some,
story.
you didn't develop it. You didn't develop it.
I agree. I'm
you gotta
there's
develop
no
better than that.
This needs a prequel.
Yeah.
I would watch a Rocky Hansen prequel
Right.
for sure, or a comic book or something like this. To me, this would be because I'd love to see him in his early days.
Yeah,
100%. Like what he was doing, or who he is, or what he was working for, and all
Right.
this stuff. Story wise, okay, finally story. So what do you give this as a story?
As a story, that's probably the weakest part of this film.
I'm at a 5 story wise because it didn't bring anything new to the table.
I'd probably give it like a 4. And even saying that, like, it wasn't enough for me not to enjoy the film.
Yeah, and that's why I said just as a story, from a story perspective.
But it was definitely not the best writing we've ever seen, for sure.
That puts our total ratings at, you are at a 6.8, and I am at a 7.7, which is about accurate. Because if I would have just given my raw score,
I probably would have given it a 7.
Yeah, and I would have said 7.5. So I feel like this is pretty good. This is a pretty good system. I like it. Yeah, so if you like it, let us know in the comments. I'd like to continue doing this. I feel like it allows us to be more analytical about things, I guess, and like actually.
And it's different too. Like, I mean, I don't know who
it's different
else
for us.
Yeah, it's different for us.
I don't know what other people are doing.
I don't know what YouTube channels Daniel was watching. They ripped this off from. So actually, let's not give it credit to anyone.
It's not true at all. I thought about it right now as we were doing this.
Anyways, that's gonna do it for us. Thanks for watching this review, and make sure to watch out for our review next week of PK, starring Amir Khan. So far, he has not let us down, so really looking forward to this one as well.
Team AK. Hashtag Team AK.
Team AK. And you know the drill. Smash that like button. Subscribe if you're not a subscriber. Ring the bell if you are a subscriber. Let us know what you think in the comments.
Good or bad. Good or bad. Good or bad.
Make sure to leave requests with the hashtag DG request. And
that'll do it.
Check out these other reviews we've done in the past. We will see you next time.